A mystery that has been immersed under a deep river for 2,500 years. A surprising discovery was made during an archaeological excavation. For the first time in Korea, headless remains of human bones were found. What had happened to the head? And what does the missing head tell us about a hidden part of history? (1996) Jinju, Gyeongsangnam-do Province. The ground was being dug up to build a dam, and it was at this very spot where vast ruins 2,500 years old were discovered. It was the ruins from the Bronze Age over an area of 364 hectares. There was a grave that stood out. The stone coffin was opened, revealing the headless human bones inside. No dentals were found, and the size of the coffin was too small to have included a head. This means that it was buried without a head. But why was this human buried with a head missing? An important clue was discovered in the village near where the remains were found. This is a ditch that went around the village. It was 3 meters long and 2 meters wide. It was a man-made ditch, a moat of sorts built as a trap. A narrow groove was dug up inside the ditch so that it would be hard to escape if your foot got caught. Large holes were also found along the moat at certain gaps. This was where wood columns stood, a wooden barricade that surrounded the village. The long moat and wooden barricade. It was double fortification in order to protect the village. So why did the people of this age build such a defense system? In order to find out what had happened in this village at the time of the headless skeleton, we went to the Songgungli site in Puyo. The Songgungli site is one of the major Bronze Age ruins and known to have existed at the same time as the Jinju ruins. Moats and wooden barricades were also found here. We can assume that 2,500 years ago, there was an extremely tense situation where the villages had to have impenetrable defenses. At this village, we found a clue that would solve the mystery of the headless skeleton. We found traces of a fire in a square-shaped housing site where the roof had burned down. Meanwhile, there were no traces of fire at a round housing site outside the village. This shows that the inhabitants of the round house invaded the square house's village. At the time, war between tribes were frequent, and that was why villages had to have strong defenses. The ruins of a house and a Bronze Age man who was buried without his head. Could it have been because they were under attack from other tribes? Then, why did war break out 2,500 years ago? We found a strange clue 100 meters away from the Namgang site where the headless skeleton was found. Burnt grain. Tests showed that the grain was barley and sorghum. Farming tools were also found, telling us that agriculture had developed then. A society where farming was the main source of securing food, tribes had no other choice but to go to war for their very survival. The death of a man buried without a head 2,500 years ago tells us of the turbulent times of that period. Nonsan Army Training Center in the 1960s. The trench digging work was suddenly suspended. A strange artifact was discovered buried under the ground. It was an artifact that held a secret of the ancient times. A mysterious part of history was revealed for the world to see. The round artifact, 21.2 centimeters in diameter, left people awestruck. Thousands of straight lines formed a triangular pattern, and there were hundreds of circles. The designs carved inside the circle were so elaborate, you had to use a microscope to see it all. It was composed of 13,000 fine lines at only 0.3 millimeters intervals in between. The fine linear design was carved without a single error. Ten years after the circular artifact was discovered, the secret of the mysterious artifact was revealed. In 1971, Bronze Age artifacts were discovered at an excavation site in Taegongni Hwasun, Jeollanam-do Province. Various bronze castings were found inside a wooden coffin. Bronze swords, bronze bells used as ceremonial instruments during the Bronze Age. Also, there were circular bronze castings. These were mirrors used during the Bronze Age. The shape was similar to the circular artifact discovered in Nonsan 10 years ago. There was a difference in the patterns, but the two artifacts were essentially the same. The largest, the most intricate, and the most superior among all existing bronze mirrors. The bronze mirror discovered in Nonsan became a national treasure after 10 years since its discovery. Tanyu means loops to tie with string. And semun means small patterns. And so the bronze mirror was named the Tanyu Semungyong Bronze Mirror. The fine patterns are only 0.007 millimeters in height and 0.05 millimeters in width. They can only be seen through a microscope. Such an outstanding bronze casting cannot be found anywhere else in the world. The artifact is said to be impossible to recreate with modern casting technology, so we tried to reconstruct the manufacturing process. First, a concentric circle is drawn, the same size as the original circle. Then 10,000 lines and 100 concentric circles are carved onto the small circle. This is equivalent to carving 3 hair-width lines within 1 millimeter. An age where there were no microscopes or precise drawing instruments, the patterns that were carved with such precise regularity are mind-blowing in itself. The small but delicate bronze mirror represents the best bronze technology of the times. It also shows that the people of the Bronze Age already knew how to mix the ratio of copper and tin in order to create a strong reflective mirror. In this way, a one-of-a-kind mirror was created. The bronze mirror proves that the Korean peninsula had high technology, the best in East Asia, during the 4th century BC. The Tanyu Semungyong bronze mirror is a mysterious part of Korean history.